Oh, got a little box come up as well. That's different. I don't usually see that. Hello, my friend. Welcome to the show. That is the Butterfly Effect podcast. I am your host, which is Eliza, apparently, and joining me is my pet crow, Liam.
Oh, is that what we're going for? But hi guys, welcome to Hackett's Quarry. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Love it. There's your Quarry quote, guys. Before we do get into our Chapter 6 analysis, a couple of things from me to say. First of all, if you're not on our Discord, what are you doing? Get on our Discord. But if you're not on there, you probably don't know about our second channel called the Butterfly Effect Podcast Bonus. And if you do go on there, you'll just see some fun extra videos, but more importantly, you'll see Liam's playthrough of the Quarry in its entirety, from prologue to chapter 10. So I don't know how you guys would want to watch it, if you want to binge it or even watch them in tandem with our analysis videos, but nonetheless, they are there for you to see. And the second point being is that for episodes 1 to 5 so far, we've essentially been playing the game and commentating at the same time, like in tandem with one another. But just for context, we are going into chapter 6 now, but me and Liam have both finished the game, and this was because I was going on holiday and we couldn't get all the recordings done in time, but we wanted to finish it. So yeah, okay, let's get into chapter 6, shall we? So I'll throw it over to you, mate.
Right, yeah, so chapter 6, guys, Prayers by Night. We start off with our favourite character, Jacob. Now, I mean, I know I gave Jacob a lot of stick in the earlier things, thinking he was going to be the worst person, but I actually really like Jacob. He's a lovable idiot. And we start as him as he goes off to look for Emma with his bloodied or non-bloodied face, however it is. And I guess the first bit is you looking for Emma, and you're going around looking for clues, really. I was just going to ask you, Jack, what did you find at this point? Did you manage to find the piece of evidence, the memory card?
I don't think I did, no. But the thing is, because I know there's two converging paths, aren't there? I purposely walked around both of them. And you know what? Because I've been watching your gameplay, and there was the thing I missed as well, the Until Dawn mask in an earlier chapter.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm walking forensically, like I'm walking around, and I'm for some reason not seeing the little cue to pick that up. So no, I didn't find this memory card. It's missing on my evidence.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a brightness thing, or maybe there's playthroughs where like you just can't have access to certain clues depending on choices you make. It is weird that, but yeah, like how about the tarot card? Sorry, I can't remember if you said, did you find the Justice Tarot?
I did, yes, I did find that.
I thought that might be one that might trick some people out, because you have to go back down the stairs as Jacob and then walk a little way off to like the corner, and then it appears around the thing. But yeah, you get the Justice Tarot, which I found 2 this episode, and that's the one I didn't end up looking at, so I don't really know what that one shows. But yeah, then you go back to and you meet Emma, and it goes back to the whole Jacob and Emma kind of dynamic, whether you ship them or not. I think they're quite an interesting duo, because like they are a summer fling, but one's more attached than the other. But they have a lot of chemistry and they bounce off of each other really well. And I really like Emma punching Jacob in the face for abandoning him. Them having more discussions about, like bears and stuff. I thought it was quite a nice scene here. And then it goes off into the wolves, mate. I guess the first major decision you kind of have is where you hide or run. But before that, I just want to say as well, I really enjoyed Jacob's line when Emma falls off the high walk, I guess. And Jacob's just there like, sorry. I don't know. I really like the delivery of that line. I actually thought, hats off to Zach Tinker. I thought you did a really good role as Jacob. I don't know if you thought the same, mate, with that line.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I was literally going to bring it up myself, because I just found it funny. The fact that, like this girl, she's fallen away, and rather than be sort of the macho, the typical thing you'd expect, he'll go in after her. He was like, no, sorry, I'm just going to leg it. So yeah, I did like that bit, mate.
Oh, yeah, of course. Like some of the lines, I think the writing does better than Until Dawn in certain areas because, like they're able to be serious and advance with the story, but a lot of the humor does land in it, and I quite like that. I guess when you're playing as Jacob, you're getting chased by the wolf, and you can hide or run. Which did you pick here, Jack?
See, I picked run, and the reason I did this is because of the sequence with Abby earlier. I chose to run, chose to hide, and she goes into like this. She goes into like a tree or a log or something, and it made no difference. So I was thinking, well, I might as well run. So I did that, but I know that you did something different, didn't you? You did hide.
Mine's really interesting. Now, I hid in a bush, and then I had one of those those hold your breath sequences. So I did that, and I succeeded. I held it down. The red went away, but what I didn't realize is I thought I wanted to be sure, so I held on to my sort of left mouse, and the red came back, and I thought, oh no, I've missed my opportunity. I thought the red would go away. I didn't know it would come back. So I held out well enough, but then the wolf came back, and I guess I was supposed to run at that point, but I didn't. I stayed sat in the bush, and the wolf came back at me, and the wolf actually found me. Now, there was this sequence, and you've watched my gameplay. I don't know if you saw what happened, but the wolf comes up to me, sniffs me, and then walks away. And it's obviously because I've got the bloody mask on. Now I'm imagining here, if I threw dirt at Bobby, I wouldn't have been bloodied, I wouldn't have been covered. Now I'm assuming Jacob would have died there because I failed the sequence. And I thought that was really interesting, and I felt so rewarded for that.
Yeah, it's my thoughts are exactly the same, and it's one of those areas that when I go back for a future playthrough, I'm very intrigued to see how that plays out, because I actually know that even when you run, Jacob can actually die as well, apparently. It plays out that he trips over and he gets caught in the bear trap, but whereas I picked to pry the trap open, I think the other option is pull free, and if you choose that, I think a QTE comes up, and if you fail the QTE, he then falls forward into the ground. I think his face gets trapped into another bear trap. That might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's what I saw online. So potentially, he could die two different ways in that one scene alone.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I wonder if he's meant to, because I do sort of question Jacob's role a little bit after the sequence. I do kind of think he becomes a background character, which we will go more into in later chapters. But you are right, I also chose to pry open, so that kind of was that for me. But you are right, mate. Anya, our good friend Anya, who we did the Until Dawn videos with, showed me what happens, and she did a kill everyone playthrough, I believe. And yeah, I have seen a clip where Jacob can fall face first in the bear trap. It looks really hilarious the way it happened, but also very gory. His face just gets squashed in it, you'd expect that from someone like Jacob to trip face first into a bear trap, which is supposed to be in your legs. But you look around, and the hillbillies have obviously rigged it massively. If you look really closely, if you turn the brightness up, this whole patch is just filled with bear traps. There's 6 or more of them scattered around the grass. I don't know how he managed to run in the middle of them without getting it in the first place, but yeah, it's pretty brutal. And then we go over to Jedediah, right, who KOs him, and then they obviously capture Jacob, which is he'll spend the next few chapters as a prisoner. And one thing I wanted to kind of just address and mention to you is, did you find it really weird that in the first instance Bobby lets him go, but in the second instance when he's strung up or he's in the bear trap, they capture him? I'm thinking if they wanted him, why didn't they just capture him in the first place? Or is it a case of Bobby and Jedediah doing different things? So I don't know, the first time I saw this, I just thought this was very odd. I don't know if that crossed your mind as well, mate.
Yeah, you know what? You are right. the only possible way that I can think to explaining this is that Bobby was on his own before, and I actually made this as a prediction, but I think it does actually come to pass in some ways later on in this game, but that Bobby isn't the most intelligent person.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs Jedediah with him in order to, sort of get, sort of do the right thing by them, as opposed to by the counsellors themselves. But it is strange. I mean, I remember when I did play this scene, he got captured. I did think to myself, well, we know from the various Insta stories and trailers that Jacob gets caught at some point anyway, so I imagine this always was going to happen. But yeah, like, come to think about it, you are right.
I'll address it more later as well, but the whole, especially like in Emma's scene later, but I am mad in hindsight at the Hacketts, because it's one of those classic horror things where a lot of the stuff could get avoided if people just communicated better. And, the Hacketts, especially Jedediah and Bobby, are just renowned for going around and not talking. Like earlier, they could have just walked around the lodge and went, "Kids, we know you're in here. There's werewolves. We're here to protect you." But now they have to walk around silent and menacing, which causes misinterpretations, and then they're in this whole deal. So it's just one of those little movie plots where it's like, if Jedediah and Bobby could have just spoken the fuck up on key moments, we wouldn't even be in this boat. But are we good to move on to the pool house, mate? Or, the pool, actually, before we get in there with Caitlin?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I suppose the revelation at this point, isn't it, that because I remember in the previous episode, I was telling you how really confused I was. We saw a girl with an eye patch, and then she randomly disappeared. I then saw the body in the pool, and I was thinking, is that her? When I first played, I was like, is that the girl with the eye patch? But then they quickly say, oh, that's Kaylee Hackett, Chris's daughter. By which point I then thought, right, okay, so she's obviously a werewolf, or was a werewolf, and she's turned back to human form. And I had this idea, I was like, could this potentially be a genetic thing? Is it sort of Chris got cursed by the werewolf, and the gene somehow passed on to him? But then before I could let that thought stew, it then sort of went over to Nick, and he was being rather strange with Abby, wasn't he? He was saying, "Oh, you smell so good," and he was holding her close. Abby was getting really uncomfortable, and it comes up as a thing to interrupt, doesn't it, mate? I mean, I know I did. Did you interrupt that particular sequence?
Oh, I can't remember that bit, actually. I mean, you saw my gameplay, mate. Do you remember if I did?
I'm going to say you did. I think you did. Yes.
Yeah.
I think you did interrupt, yeah. But yeah, again, this is another part where I'm intrigued what happens if you do the opposite. I almost wish I did do the opposite. Especially with how it plays out with a certain character later in this chapter. But you then push Nick into the pool, and he starts reacting really badly with the water. And at first, I was really liking it. I was thinking, maybe the water's somehow purifying him. It might be causing the demon that's in him, or the werewolf thing, to leave him. So I then helped Nick out, thinking, sick, that's him sort of saved. But obviously the other choice was comfort Abby, and I do wonder what happens now if you comfort Abby and just let Nick stay in the water.
Yeah, true. That is a very good point. I'm gathering not much, if I had to guess, but yeah, on a future playthrough, I'm definitely going to comfort Abby instead and see what happens. I will say with this whole intro bit where you play as Caitlin, one thing I want to mention as well is that this is another short sequence where we don't even play as Caitlin for that long again, which is a real shame, because it's the only sort of scene we've really had of relevance with her is when, she has the quick time events with Bobby, sneaking around the lodge. I would have liked to have seen a lot more Caitlin in the earlier chapters especially. But I guess when I found out that it was Kaylee as well, I didn't really know what to think. I didn't exactly think genetic, but I was thinking, okay, so something's happened within the family. Like maybe Chris has got, some of his kids as well. So yeah, I didn't think too deep, but yeah, like a lot of thoughts were racing around my mind, kind of like as into what it could have been. I will say as well, when this whole scene transitioned as well, I got massive lag. Like the audio cut out massively for me, and it like was silent for like 5 seconds, and then the audio had to catch up with the video. It was really weird. And I noticed there are a few lags going forward in the game for me. I don't know if that's a PC and console thing, but on PC it certainly happened for me.
Actually, you reminded me of this, because I'm pretty sure it's happened a couple of times in my gameplay leading up to this, but it certainly happens after this point as well. Did you have this weird bug where the characters would say certain lines twice?
I think that might have happened, yeah.
Yeah, because it almost seems to be at like the start of a scene or like a chapter.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's a great game, but it almost did feel at times where when you would move to a new character, the transition would be really unsmooth. And it didn't bother me too much, but it definitely, loses credits for it to be a 10 out of 10 game. Like, it definitely does stop it from hitting the heights it could be, potentially. It's a little too unpolished, I don't know. But, yeah, otherwise, the only point I have to mention before we get into the pool house is just a little bit about Nick's acting here, because it's really surprising. Obviously, I called that he might be infected, and then when you sort of see him kind of being comforted by Abby earlier at the lodge, you do know, okay, something's going on with Nick. And you're really wary about him when he's sort of like hugging Abby tight. You're like, oh, here it goes. He's talking about like, how she smells good, and then he randomly snaps at Caitlin, saying like, fuck off, Caitlin. And yeah, like, I just wanted to say, like, I thought the acting here from Evan Evagora was actually pretty decent. Like, I really bought into him as like a wolf who was kind of getting almost possessed by this like animalistic nature. And it's a shame we don't see more of this throughout the game, because Nick is probably like one of the bleakest characters for me in this cast. He's obviously a very mellow guy, and it just would have been really nice if we could see more of him. But obviously I'll talk more about that as we go through like the rest of the chapters and Nick's role going forward. So are you happy to switch to when they get inside the pool house, mate?
Yeah. Do you want to take it away, or?
Yeah, like, I guess before we cut to Abby and Nick, there's a little conversation that happens between Caitlin, Dylan, and Ryan, and they agree to take photos and to grab any evidence because of how ludicrous their night is and how police won't believe them. And I'm just going to say, I thought this was refreshing. It's almost rare you see this in horror films where they like look at their bizarre situation and think, yeah, no one's going to believe us. We've got to take evidence. We've got to be smart, because this is like, they're going to laugh at us. And you almost get the kind of thing where Dylan and Ryan had the phone call and they're asking for help, and they almost kind of do cover that. But it just shows that like Caitlin's this really clever character, and it's nice to see Ryan backing her up. Like, yeah, you're right. We need to do this. We need to take photos. And it also goes really well in tandem with the fact that you're collecting clues and you're doing this evidence anyway, and it gives you kind of like another respective reason to look for these clues and the evidence. So yeah, I don't know. I just really like this conversation. It's nice to see smart characters in a horror game or horror film, because we do know the classic trope is that in slashers the main cast are usually dumb. Like, they'll walk back into buildings where there's clearly an enemy in there, they won't escape, they'll kind of say who's there, giving their position away. And I don't know if you thought this as well, mate. Just really refreshing to see the characters being really smart for once.
It is, and it's about time too, because bloody hell, the number of times someone says, oh, it's obviously bears or something, or I don't know what that was. Like, they can't, Jedediah coming up to the camera earlier on, it's like, oh, it must have been nothing. Like, well, clearly it wasn't. Like, they're finally waking up, they're smelling the coffee, they're starting to see that actually something really weird's going down. So yeah, I completely agree. And actually, you could say that Emma was ahead of the curve on that front, because she couldn't wait to get her phone out when she encountered the werewolf earlier on.
That's because she lives on her phone though. So.
Yeah.
All for the vlog. I can respect that.
Yeah, I mean, if we ever find a werewolf, guys, then yeah, we'll do it for the subs. But,
Oh, we will. It's going
yeah.
on the channel.
Yeah. But yeah, mate, I mean, we can move on to Abigail now wandering around that little, the room of the pool house. And there's a few things in here, isn't there, that you can find? I mean, I know certainly I did. So there's the campers photo, which I think shows Ryan with Caleb and is it Kaylee? I know it's definitely
Kaylee, yeah.
Ryan, Caleb, and yeah. And then there's also the spooky drawing, which I found in like the little cabinet as well. And then another thing to point out, it was just added like maybe a tedious 1 minute to my gameplay. But like there's like these little sort of like closet rooms in here. I think there's like 5 of them. And I went down, it just like the lodge stairs earlier. I was like, I've got to commit to it. I went down every single one. And I'm pretty sure there was only one thing in them. And I think it was a tarot card. Was it like the moon?
It was the moon, yes.
Yeah. So I picked that up. And then I think after that it was, oh dear, this following sequence. Well, I then went back over to Nick and he was asking me, oh, you know, you like me? And Abby said, to be fair, like she did give a cop-out answer. She did say, oh, I've enjoyed spending time with you. It's something straight out of Friends. Like I think Emily and Ross say in Friends, but
that is something a Tinder girl would say to me, where I know full well she's going to ghost me later on that evening.
And yeah, like I said all the right things. Like whenever a choice come up, I was like very compassionate. But it's quite clear that whatever it was taking over him again. I was confused. I was thinking, I thought the water had done something, rather naively thinking that the water did something. But and I suppose, mate, I mean, let's go into it before we cover the next bit. We do see our first werewolf transformation. So what are your thoughts on it? Any surprises? Anything you feel could be improved?
I mean, it's an odd one because like the way it happens, and we'll see it constantly throughout the game going forward, like especially in chapter 9 where it just happens for fun almost. It's kind of like the turn is like a blood splatter, isn't it? And it's almost like a kind of a magical kind of transformation. It's not like hair rapidly growing out and, you know, bones just get massive or whatever. It is literally just kind of like a wolf inside them, and then it's like a massive blood explosion, which is weird because you'll later learn it happens the same way, reversing back as well. But yeah, to be honest, I don't know if I would have preferred it a more classic way. It was certainly interesting to see. It made it gorier. I quite like the blood splatters. One could probably argue, probably a little easier to animate as well, maybe. But either way, from this scene, you know, it worked really well because I was wary of Nick since he was kind of brought back at the campfire and they flirted with the idea of amputating him. And then the moment he started getting more aggressive, I was like, oh, here it comes. Yeah, he doesn't look well at all. He is going to turn. And yeah, it led to this scene. It built up really well and then it happened. I mean, how about yourself?
Yeah, as far as the transformation goes, I think I'm in the same camp. Do I like it? Yeah, I think it's cool. Like, just sort of like the guts going everywhere. Do I think that I'd have preferred maybe a few close-ups where you can see the hair come through and the teeth, or just, you know, some sort of shedding skin slowly where you can start to see the werewolf come through? I do think I'd have preferred it, but I do think, like you said, it's like a animation thing whereby it might have been a bit too much, especially if you're doing it for multiple characters. Yeah, I suppose I've got to come round to it. So Abby, she gets flung back and she picks up a gun, and Nick's just standing there and it gives you a chance to shoot. I was flashed back to Until Dawn again when, you know, you're there with Mike and Emily. The thing that, obviously there was a timer on this as well, the thing that was going through my head was, if I shoot Nick now, he's dead, I'm not going to get the 100% everyone stays alive. So I was just on a whim hoping that something would change, that he would sort of get over it, or that there might be an opportunity for everyone else to run out through like a QTE or something. Boy, how wrong was I, because then the next thing you know, he turns, then runs at her, slams her against the wall with like absolute like a ferocious force, which I'm pretty sure must have knocked her out, and then bit her neck, and then ultimately ripped her head off. And I was thinking, this is Chris all over again. My favourite character has got killed off first. Absolutely gutted about it. Yeah. Then everyone else was looking on in horror, and Nick ran away as the werewolf. So, how about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I mean, before we get to me, mate, I just want to say that you voiced that Abby was your favourite character. I mean, how were you feeling at this point? Because that must have been absolutely frustrating. Like, I know I've said Laura's my favourite. If that happened to Laura, I'd be, like, absolutely livid at this point. Like, what was it like for you?
It was horrible, and then, of course, it paused and it said, "Do you want to use a death rewind?"
Right, yeah.
Oh. And I was just sat there like, oh, fucking hell. I'll do. But then I was like, no, come on, you've got to be legit. You'll save Abigail one day, but now's not the time. I do imagine it's got to be something to do with, you've just got to shoot him, right? And that's the thing. That's, I suppose, the good thing. We are still in the dark. If you shoot him, though, maybe it's not got silver in it. Maybe it just hurts him and then he runs off. I don't know. I'm literally speculating at this point because I don't know what happens if you do shoot. But yeah, I do wish I shot and obviously kept her alive. But it sucks. Like I've said before, when you kill one person off, in a weird way, pressure comes off you a little bit because you know you can't get the 100% anymore.
I get you, yeah.
The fact it was Abby, I was like, no.
I understand. Yeah, with me, when it came to myself, I was like, we know what I did in Until Dawn. I shot Emily in the eye on my blind playthrough. And I had flashbacks to that, and we spoke numerous times about the similarities of certain, elements with Until Dawn. And I was like, I remember Anya having a go at me for shooting Emily in the face, me saying I wouldn't make this mistake again. And it was like another 50-50, so I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to shoot. So I did the same as you. Abby died for me. And it's like 2 decisions there, and I've got both wrong. One you're supposed to shoot, one you're not supposed to. I got both wrong. It's so shambolic of me. Basically, I guess the reason I didn't want to shoot is because of the Until Dawn thing. I thought, yeah, don't shoot your friends. Also, he was still in human form. I feel if he was like full-blown wolf, I would have shot. However, he was just Nick, We've got this like little dainty like human on the other side of the room. I'm gonna kill the guy. I just thought it was one of those ones like where they give you a decision and clearly you're not supposed to take it. One that's a bit simple, like, do you want to throw a snowball at this bird in Until Dawn? And I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. And it happens so quick, like, and then a bit similar to Until Dawn as well, like when Ashley gets beheaded, you just see this rolling head on the floor. And I'm almost thinking, like, this is some dream sequence, because this is just so unreal. Like, this isn't true. And then it just kind of goes path chosen, and I was like, okay, so I guess that was real then. And I think as well, it was made a little bit more powerful for me as well by the pure fact that if you look at our Oscar videos, I thought Abby was going to be the character with the most plot armor. Her and Ryan, I said.
Yeah.
So when Abby died here, I did not expect it. I honestly thought she was going to be ridden with plot armor. I thought she was Final Girl, who would be fighting wolves till the very end. And then it's chapter 6, she's my first character to go. She's just, her head's on the floor in the pool house in front of me. It was, it really shocked me to my core. But that's why I love this game, and I disabled Death Rewind, so I just kind of was living there with the horror. as we moved on to the next scene. But yeah, I mean, I'll come back to you, mate. The thing is, though, mate, I know a load of people that have killed Abby at the scene. I wouldn't criticize the game. I don't think it's like, oh, it's a poorly kind of displayed decision. 80% of characters aren't going to shoot Nick there. Because I guess that's kind of the way life works as well, right? Like, it's not, I don't want to be like, baby like spoon-fed every decision, like, oh, we advise you shoot Nick here because he will rip your head off.
Yeah.
I like the fact it was a tough decision, and it probably caught most players out, like, other than ones that probably knew Abby would die here, or other people who either maybe hated Nick, or other people who were just trigger happy. It's one of those really difficult decisions, and I imagine it tripped a lot of people up here. But yeah, obviously gutting. Going forward, you guys know that Jack and I aren't getting perfect playthroughs. It's going to be 7 max at this point. But still, I mean, what a scene. Another thing I will mention as well here is that I was a little confused when Wolf Nick jumped out the window. I thought wolves just wanted to kill. So it's almost a bit surprising that Dylan, Caitlin, and Ryan got away unscathed here. But yeah, I don't know. It's not exactly a criticism. I just thought that was a bit of a weird animal behaviour by Wolf Nick there. It
was. He ran away, didn't he? And they're all just sort of left there with, you know, dropped jaws. But
the wolf just straight up said,
"Fuck this shit, I'm out."
But otherwise, mate, Emma, are we good to go?
Yeah. So things that I found in this sequence, or thing that I found in this sequence, the kids' letter home. Did you find that by the tents?
Yeah, that was to do with like Ryan's scary stories, right?
Yeah. So I found that, and I suppose what my comment for this scene is, and I don't know what, it just seems to be when I'm playing as Emma, but it seems that her sequences are incredibly dark. And by I don't mean dark as in, you know, sort of scary, spooky horror. I mean literally dark. I can't see where the fuck I'm going. And at this point, I'd already turned the brightness up by quite some way. I didn't want to turn it up right the way so that I could clearly see, because you want the whole immersion, the atmosphere of the trees and stuff. But it was the same on the island, and it was the same in this particular bit as well. And I was a little bit worried because I was thinking, if I can't see where I'm going, am I potentially missing clues here? And you know what I'm like. I like to find these things to learn about the story. So a little bit of a negative from me on this particular bit. I wish, like, maybe I should have just turned it up even more, the brightness. But yeah, it did take me out of the game a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It was last chapter where I turned the brightness up when I was playing as Dylan, going back to like where the lodges were, and I was looking around for the clues, and I found stuff like the vial. Like, it was really at that point where I thought, you know what, this game is absolutely dark. I literally can't see anything. I'm gonna have to turn the brightness up. So it was made a little easier for me here. What I would say though is that I probably, like, this whole section where you're playing as Emma looked really maybe quite big. And I probably moved on straight on when I could have looked around. Maybe I did it out of laziness. Maybe I did it out of the fact that I was aware that I was recording, so I probably wasn't as slow and, you know, as meticulous as I would have been. I only found 2 things, which is the kids' letter home, which you mentioned. I also found like a beheaded animal. I don't know if you found that, mate.
Oh yeah, I did find that. Yeah.
Which what I think was the boar earlier from the Abby and Nick sequence. I'm pretty sure it was the same boar. So yeah, it's kind of like a nice little nod back to an animal that we have seen. I don't know if that is confirmed or not. It's just a little theory I had. It did look like the same animal. So yeah, obviously really sad to see that animal go. Almost quite parallel of when you sort of see the black wolf dead in the sanatorium. So there's another Until Dawn sort of similarity there as well.
Yeah.
That I've literally just thought of on the spot, actually, funny enough. But yeah, I feel like there's probably a lot more in this area, and I only found those 2 clues, mate. I don't think I found a tarot card here either. I don't know if it's the same for you.
No, I've only got the 2 tarot cards in this chapter. I don't know if there is any more.
Yeah, I have a feeling like there might be one with Emma in the sequences. It looked like quite a massive area, and I went, my way is I always like scan left to right. And in this case, I went left and then kind of like middle was the way forward. So I feel like there's probably a lot of stuff on the like right-hand paths that I just completely missed probably. Maybe there was nothing. Like in the comments, if you could let me know, that'd be nice. But obviously, I'll do future playthroughs. I'll find out myself anyway. But yeah, then we go over to like Jed and Bobby. Did you have any other points before we got there, mate?
No, not really. No, so happy to move on to that bit.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like they've captured a wolf, right? And Emma's kind of snooping, seeing what they're on about. But yeah, another significant thing here is that Bobby calls Jedediah Pat. So we actually start to learn a little bit about the family tree here, and these guys are related. Now, did you see that coming, Jack?
I did, yeah. I mean, even before going into the game, I assumed that Bobby, Constance, and Jedediah were related.
Yeah.
I think when Chris is speaking on the phone to Jedediah earlier on in the game,
yeah,
I thought that there was a relationship there. I didn't necessarily think family.
Yeah.
But I don't know how I started to come around to this thinking, but it did start to almost... I started to clock on that potentially they're all family. So like the Hillbillies and Travis and Chris. Don't know how.
Yeah.
I wish I could explain how, but it just started to fall to me that way. Actually, like this particular scene comes back to something I was saying earlier on, how Jedediah's clearly sort of teaching Bobby or telling Bobby what to do. It seems like when Bobby's on his own, he tends to make decisions that don't work in the favour of the Hillbillies, and I think that this scene demonstrates that, when I think he's what I assume is like what those vial things are for, or a tranquilizer to essentially put the wolf out so that they can drag it to the cell.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, obviously you're as Emma, aren't you, hiding behind the tree, and it gives you an option to run, which I didn't.
Neither did I, and I wonder what happens if you do run. But obviously we didn't, and we get caught by Jedediah, right?
Yes.
And it's interesting because they're speaking to each other, assessing whether there's a bite, and they're talking like, oh no, I don't think they're bitten. And clearly you can kind of see, oh, we're against the wolves here. We're on the same side. Both, like, Emma's seen the real threat out there. She just encountered like Max in the treehouse or whatever. And it's kind of just like, why on earth are you gonna like not talk to each other and just communicate better? And it really makes me hate the Hacketts here, because Emma just is like, oh, fuck off, and then runs away, and there's no explanation. And it's like, if I'm the Hillbillies, I'm thinking like, these kids are like in danger. They have no idea what's out there. We just could literally give them 3 bullet points, say, put werewolf blood on your face, it's going to protect you. Literally, that, done. 10 seconds, Emma can walk away with that knowledge, but there's none of that. Bobby just likes to menacingly stare, judge me for potentially not shooting my gun right, as he smiles, like, look at me, I can shoot my finger off. I don't know, it just makes me really fucking hate this Hackett family. Just like, honestly, communication goes a long way, and this Hackett family have none of it. Even back with Travis earlier in the prologue, just fucking tell Laura and like Max what the fuck's going on, at least a little bit. Just like, nah, go to the motel. I don't have to explain why. Kids aren't going to listen to that.
No, the thing is, like, you are absolutely right. In a real life situation, sure. I suppose obviously the reason they're not, because otherwise like, it'll be like the game developers like giving away so much of the plot, or like giving too much information. So they're obviously like having to tread an awkward line. But I do completely get what you mean. But obviously, yeah, she kicks him in the bollocks, I think, and then starts running. And then she just then gets back to the lodge, and she can't find anyone, and then she just winds up sitting in the car, and that was the end for me.
It's interesting because at the start of the Emma chapter, she's like, okay, where would I go? The lodge. I really like that. She explains her thought process. I really like the acting by Halston Sage here as well. And then she ends up at the lodge, but what I don't get is, why would you not stay inside the lodge where like the walls are secure and there's potentially an attic or a basement in there? But instead she bunks in like the car, unless she thought she could get away. But like, I can just imagine a wolf would tear it through that metal really easily. So yeah, I don't know the decision making there. I just wanted to say, because earlier your car blew up, didn't it? It went on fire. I don't know even if this is the same car. I might be wrong there.
Yeah, it's the same.
So yeah. was your car like ruined and stuff? Like, could she actually get in it fine?
I think it was too dark to tell. She got in it absolutely fine, and she's just sort of sat in there. It didn't look like that she wanted to, leave. Maybe that's because she knew that it was broke down, from earlier on when it got set on fire. But you know what? You've reminded me. When she goes into the lodge, like she's seen the threat, right? She goes into the lodge, barges through the door, and she steps forward. And guys, I'm thinking, love, turn round and shut the door. You know that these things are out there. Like the lodge, you go to the lodge is a place of safety, and you're leaving the front door open. Like,
oh wow!
Just,
I didn't notice that. I did not notice that.
She's quick to get her phone out to take a picture, but she's not so clever as to shut the door to. I'm
hilarious.
Nitpicking again, but fuck it. I love nitpicking. It's just, it's my thing.
Yeah, I guess you sort of see in all its glory another similarity to Until Dawn when the stranger knocks on the door, right? And they're like, who's there kind of thing. There's just so many of them, right?
There is.
We instantly know who it is. You can tell by the voice. Obviously, it's like one of my favourite characters, so I'm proper there like, oh, yes, this is good. Obviously, they talk about Laura Kearney being at the door, which is really interesting because Dylan puts 2 and 2 together, and it's Dylan who knows what's going on and who Laura is because you found a clue earlier. I wonder what happens if you don't find this clue. How Dylan's dialogue would change. Would he be like, oh, she could be like bad, let's not let her in? So yeah, very interesting to see what happens there. So I'm going to do a future playthrough where I don't find that clue just to see what happens. But yeah, I guess it just sort of ends and Laura's there and she's got an eye patch and it's the girl from before who killed Haley, I guess. But I guess I'm just a little happy at myself because obviously I recognised it was Laura and it was just kind of a nice moment for me where I was like, oh yeah, I knew it'd be her. And also just a moment of happiness because she's my favourite character and I was just like, yes, she's back in the game. She's not like a prisoner. She's not dead. Like, we actually, get to see her be a part of the game now. And yeah, I just guess I was just really happy with this bit. How about yourself, mate?
Yeah, like she looks completely different, doesn't she? Like, I know when we spoke, I was thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be Laura in it. But she does look very, very different with like the eye patch, and obviously it looks like her hair's very dark because obviously it's maybe wet or something. But yeah, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder how she got the eye patch, and well, they're gonna tell you in the next one. But yeah, I was thinking, right, so maybe in the next episode we can expect a little bit of info dumping again, almost like the stranger from Until Dawn, as you said.
Yeah.
But I think that the way they did it in Chapter 7, far, far superior. I loved, this is jumping ahead, I won't go into it. I love the fact they did like a flashback chapter with like little intercuts of her telling the story. I thought it was really well done. So, yeah, got that to look forward to.
Yeah, of course, like, obviously next week when we do Chapter 7 is the flashback episode. So if you're a fan of it, yeah, we'd love to have you join in for that one. But yeah, I guess before then it just ends on an Eliza sequence. And it sounds like we both got the 2 tarot cards, mate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping, like, when we were talking about Chapter 4, we did every decision different. I'm hoping it's the same here. Did you pick Justice or the Moon, mate?
I picked the Moon.
So did I. Oh well, can't win them all.
No, I mean, the reason I picked the Moon is because it felt thematically more relevant, because obviously the full moon and the wolf. So I was like, I wonder if there's anything extra spicy here that I could use going forward into the game. Like maybe it's a better premonition. Can't for the life of me remember what it was, but yeah, I did pick the Moon. Eliza.
Yeah, so it's the thing you see in the crystal ball is Laura disarming Travis in a cell and stabbing Travis in the neck.
Right, yeah.
And it did make me think, I'm like, actually, we haven't seen Travis at all, right? Other than the prologue. And I'm sat there thinking, has Laura killed Travis? And Travis is literally just a prologue character. I'm like, oh my god, is that the case? Because Ted Raimi's a big actor. Are we like not using him? We've just used him for that one creepy scene at the start. So yeah, a lot of thoughts running around my brain at this point. So yeah, I just was really intrigued to get to the next one, and obviously, like, we'll find out what Travis, Laura have been up to this whole time. But yeah, very short scene. I will say as well, Eliza sounded very pissed off when she first saw me.
Here we are again. Just you and me.
Shut the hell up, bitch. Go kill yourself. Go sit in the middle of the road and let a car run over you. You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you.
And I was just like, her enthusiasm dropped. I'm like, is she that pissed off with me that she's just absolutely sick to death of seeing me?
Yeah, it's like, come on, Eliza, I brought you 2 tarot cards. You can't whinge at me again.
Yeah. It's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because at the start, it was like, oh, you didn't buy me anything. So I found her 2, and she's like, oh, you again. I'm like, how can I make you happy, Eliza? I'm happy to wrap things up there. It's been quite a meaty chapter, as if it were. There's a lot to cover. You've come back from holiday, and there was just a lot to get through. Quite a lengthy one, but I hope you guys stuck around the whole thing. It was quite an enjoyable chapter, this one.
Yeah, it really was. And of course, you can leave your comments. You know, did Abigail die for you? Tell me. If she stayed alive, first of all, I envy you. But is it because that she shot at Nick and then he randomly runs off? Is it because she somehow had the bag with the teddy from earlier that you could throw? You know, what is it that you did to keep her alive? And yeah, we will look forward to seeing you in chapter 7.
Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you at the next one.
Bye-bye.